everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So I'm here today with a traveler's notebook flip through for a notebook that I just completed. I'm calling this one Ocean Perils because of this fun vintage poem that's been collaged as part of the collaged masterboard cover of this journal. So this journal has a pocket on the front and on the back, and it is a 3-hole binding. The closure is stitched directly into the cover, and it is vintage seam binding that's been stitched on. The whole cover is sealed and stitched around, so I will just unwrap it here. Okay, so in the back you'll see there's an eyelet, and it's stitched right here to go through this eyelet. This is a very long piece of seam binding, so you can wrap it multiple times around the journal. And on front we have this pocket here. This is an illustration from like a vintage garden book that showed you how to design and build your own garden. And lots of fun collage, some celestial stuff and some art. On back, more garden design on the pocket. And I'll just take this out as well so you can see the full collage, celestial and botanicals. This is some woven jute that goes down the side here. So in the back pocket, we have this heavyweight cardstock tag. It has some handmade tatting down the side and these beautiful birds from a vintage children's book, and some nice sort of folk arty fabric up top. So that just pops in here in the back. Oops. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, and then in the front, we have this collage journal card made from vintage wrapping paper with poppies and an oak leaf that I've sealed down. And this is some text and a page from a vintage children's book. So that just pops inside this pocket. So we will undo this, and I'll just wrap it around the back. That's how I usually use my notebooks, is I just wrap it around the back and kind of pull it a little bit. Okay, so there's that's a little bit of a long thread. There's lots of like threads, loose threads in here. I like to leave them because they're just so fun. It's like it gives an overall nice feel to the journal to have some threads hanging. So this cover on the inside, as you can see, the collage continues, celestial, botanical, and lots of beautiful art. And then the journal opens with this page, which is a pocket that's been made from a 1959, March 1959 photograph of this sweet Dalmatian in the snow. And this is a real photograph. And then the paper behind it is this nice lined coffee stained paper, and inside we have this large journaling tag. So it's a collage tag. You see some mermaids on the back there, and it has this little tuck area to hold onto a piece of vintage ephemera. So it says a cheerful umbrella, and this was from a little book about simple things to make yourself happy. So inside there we have this. This is a vintage CB radio calling card. So if you're not familiar with CB radio, you can do a little bit of research. Essentially, it was really popular in the 70s and early 80s among people who traveled, like truck drivers. It was kind of their way to keep in touch with each other, like before cell phones and all of that. So this one was from John and Sandy Blackmore of Burnt River, Ontario, and I guess their names were Cottontail and Bush Rabbit, and you know, they like, you had like your own, I guess it was called a handle. It was a name that you went by, and sometimes you had like a kind of a group name. So they're kind of cool. This one has been written on back, and it was to Debbie from Sandy, and they were just like little communications that people would, when they would meet up at like truck stops or events, that they would kind of give this to each other to kind of keep in touch. Then this is a little collage, a paper snippet that's been stitched. We have a mushroom here, and this beautiful botanical paper with a little crochet flower and some ribbon, little collage tab, cabbage dyed paper, and then a lace pocket. And this is a vintage seed packet paper that's been cabbage dyed, and then a collage tag that says glass slippers, and we have a vintage image of Cinderella here. lined paper on the back. And then cabbage and coffee dyed paper. This one has text from a children's trace along nature study verses. And this is a pocket made from a Richard Scarry book. So it's got these cute images. And inside, I found these actually inside a box of 45 records. They were just like file folder dividers, and they're cool. Like they've got these punched, embossed kind of like circles, and I put vintage candy stickers on them. So that just pops in there. And then some more botanical paper, pardon me. And then this is a vintage paper clip, and behind it is just cabbage dyed paper. The back of this is blank, and this is from a late 1800s Brothers Grimm storybook. So it's got some princesses. Yeah, it's just a really nice image. And then we have here a collage pocket. It's actually a double pocket. So this itself has a pocket, and that's what this lives inside of. It says Over the Hedge, and it's a vintage botanical image tag. So that pops inside the pocket. And behind you'll see some beautiful paper. And then this is a vintage black and white image on old like sepia tone kind of paper from an old 1950s Black Beauty book. Cabbage dyed paper. This is a paper sack, and it's been collaged on, and I've added some botanicals. Inside is this botanical journal card from a vintage garden book. And then just some plain paper botanicals, like dyed papers for journaling space. And then this page has an upper tuck pocket. It's on shibori paper that's been tea dyed. And we have some lace here, a little safety pin with some beads. And then this is a 1950s poem. And then we have a little tag that has a pull down. And this is a children's book page from a 1950s book called Come to My Party. Some stenciling on that fun tea-dyed paper, and this is some tea-dyed botanical paper with a fabric ruffle down the side, and you'll see a bulb pin here with a little leafy kind of charm. And then some more botanical paper. These are from Teal and Tattered on YouTube and Etsy, this particular digital. And then this is a vintage brass paper clip holding a couple of original pieces of vintage ephemera. So this is an old plant card for the broadleaf podocarpus. I left it as is, but you could put paper on back to journal, but I wanted to leave it open because it is vintage. So then this is a photograph, an original photograph from the 1950s. And it just depicts this family sitting in front of their house. These are photos from the Guelph, Ontario area. They were part of an estate auction that I picked up. And then there's this fun, this is dandelion packaging paper. And over here we have these beautiful butterflies and moths. And there's some nice thistle there with some more butterflies and moths. And this is from a vintage bug field guide, like not bug, but moth and butterfly. This paper has been cabbage dyed. And then this is a nice tea-dyed botanical page about the loose strife family. And on this side, we have a tip out that is from a vintage children's book called Hedgehog Hollow. And it's the bees buzzed back and forth, the butterflies flitted and fluttered. So it's got lots of cute illustrated insects, and on the back as well. And then we have another double pocket. So the front of the pocket is another vintage photograph from the 1950s Guelph area again. And this one actually might be a little earlier, 1940s, I believe. And it's this lovely woman standing in front of this old car. And so inside there is this little botanical tag. And in the red polka dot pocket, we have a larger tag. And this is from a children's book, I think, that was called The Rainbow's End. And it's about gnomes. So we have a couple little gnome people here and a rainbow. And I've just stitched some fabric on top. And some more botanical tea-dyed paper. And a lace pocket over here. And this is just a collage journal card with this fish, puffer fish, and it says, "The moon doth shine as bright as day." And at the center we have an Edith Holden illustrated page, one of my favorite illustrators, and it's these beautiful birds in the winter time. And there's a tab up here with a metal eyelet going through it, and it has a little Swarovski crystal bead. And then more Edith Holden at the back. And then we have, this is a rusted paper clip and a couple pieces of ephemera inside of it. So this was from a box set of the story, The Wild Swans. It's a lovely illustration, large journaling card. And then this is a postcard that I just got from a Flow magazine. And I just thought it would be a nice little inclusion there for more journaling space. And that's just on tea-dyed paper. And more botanical tea-dyed paper. This burgundy lace pocket and a collage tag with a fairy that says the little pixie had become a wind elf. On this side we have another vintage bird field guide page, and then this is a botanical page. It says notes at the top. Cabbage dyed paper with a lace and vintage button tab. It's actually a white stone button. It's really beautiful. And more of that dandelion packaging paper. And this is cabbage dyed paper and another of the beautiful iris digitals from Teal and Tattered. And this page is a jelly print that I did. And down here we have a little lace and fabric tab and some peachy colors on cabbage dyed paper. And the front is botanicals. This is a little pocket here, and inside you'll see there's back here there's a little paper tab, and it's on some coffee and cabbage dyed paper. And this is just a large journal card with these beautiful white flowers on a blue background. Some shibori cabbage dyed paper. And then this is a paper sack that's been collaged for more journaling space, and it says frost flowers were too glad to blossom. And inside we have a little journal card made from a vintage tree book. And on back a collage with a couple of birds from a field guide. Then some cabbage dyed paper with a little lace and fabric tab up top. Just some pretty paper. And then another little fabric tab with a little leaf button and another little vintage button on cabbage dyed paper. Botanicals on the back, a pocket from a Richard Scarry book, and that's on coffee dyed paper. And inside it has a couple things. So the first is a vintage bridge score paper, and then this is a vintage postcard. And it's not written on the back, but it's Lake Placid, New York. And these are from the 70s. I don't have an exact date on this one, but it came in a box of 70s postcards, half of which were written on and half were not. And then this is more coffee dyed paper, a little bit of that nature study tracing paper. And then we have a Frida Kahlo playing card, which is a tuck spot, a bit of map, and cabbage dyed paper, and another vintage postcard. Also not written on, from London, Ontario, the entrance castle to Storybook Gardens. So that is another little journaling spot. Then we have a fabric collage over here with some vintage buttons, and this is actually a beautiful sequined applique that was sent to me from my friend in Qatar. And then this is cabbage dyed paper, and it has a little crocheted cupcake stitched at the top. Botanical paper. And this is tea-dyed paper with a brass vintage paper clip holding on to this beautiful photo of these three lovely ladies in this sort of grassy front yard in front of a house. And it's a nice thick paper. It's got like a printer's note on the back. These images are from 1950s from the Guelph, Ontario area. And then the last page, we have a tuck spot here with this little office folder type pocket. Inside it is this large journal tag. It says little bunnies had gone to collect wood, and it's from a children's book. It's been stitched around with some fabric up here. And then inside this little pocket, we have this $500 handmade fake Monopoly money. I found this cute like game that was handmade probably in the 80s, and it was just full of these handmade game pieces. And then at the back, the collage continues here, and we've reached the end of the journal. So thank you so much for watching. I will be posting this journal and some other traveler's notebooks into my shop over the coming days or weeks. I'm making these for a holiday market that I'm participating in, but I will be putting some in my shop. The best way to see when I post things is to follow me on my Etsy shop, because then you'll get a notification that there's something new in the shop. Thank you so much for joining me today, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can find all of my information on social media down below in the description box, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye for now.